What's up, guys? War here. Welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to do a quick recap over the Diablo 4 developer stream for Season 8 Belial's Return. We've gotten a lot of information and the stream was fantastic. And I have the patch notes here, so I'm going to go over all of the important stuff that you guys really need to know with the Vessel of Hatred, or not Vessel of Hatred, but going into Season 8, the Season of Bosses. Now, before we get off to anything, we got the Season of Bosses, which I think is going to be great. And the dev stream had a lot of information. So if you guys do want to watch this, I will leave a link down in the description below. But let's go over everything you guys really need to know from this. Excuse me. So biggest thing here, there's a lot of buffs. Okay, there's a lot of buffs. There's some really good nerfs. So coming out right off the gate in the base game, the Spiritborn did get some nice buffs here to offset kind of his lackluster performance from Season 7. Bug fixes. Now, let's talk about the base game and everything that's coming in here. All of the boss powers that you guys see here on the screen, they all took a substantial nerf. Okay, they all took a substantial nerf in some way, whether it's increased durations, cooldowns, all the damage from almost every single power of the bosses did get nerfed. Now, there is some, like Lilith's power, it did get buffed, but for the majority, most of them got nerfed in some way or another. Now, I will say this, to kind of offset these power nerfs to the boss powers for the seasonal theme, we did get a lot of really good nerfs for the classes. I'm not going to go over everything in particular, but almost every single power and subset power did take a nerf. So just a heads up from that. Now, getting into the different skills from all of the classes, Barbarian did receive some small nerfs to some of the skills here, which I think is great. A lot of the classes did receive nerfs, or excuse me, buffs. Buffs. They got a lot of buffs here, increasing damage, passive things, passive skills. Spirit Boon did take a little bit of a nerf, but that's okay. A lot of the aspects got buffed, which I think is great. Uniques got buffed, which is awesome. Same thing with the Necromancer. There's a lot of really nice buffs in here just to kind of round out some of the classes here. Paragon, the Paragon nodes did get buffed, which is cool. There's a lot of really good changes in here for all the classes just in general. So I'm not too upset with the boss powers being nerfed to a degree, because they're still going to be very, very powerful. We're still going to be super strong with them. So I think them just suffering a small nerf isn't going to be that big of a deal. But to kind of offset that, it looks like we got a lot of buffs to the classes, which I'm excited about. Rogue in particular, because Dance of Knives is probably my favorite build in the game. So I'm going to be playing that again on top of some other builds for Season 8. But there is some nice little stuff here with Tempering and the Scoundrel's Leather. Like some really good stuff here. I do wish that there was some better buffs for Sorceress, because I still feel that Sorceress has just been shunned since the beginning of the game. But hopefully we'll get some really cool stuff here. But there is some cool buffs to some of these snow powers or frost powers, which I do think is cool. But we'll have to see how this plays out. I just don't think there's enough there. But again, now we get into the Belial, Lord of Lies, and the bosses themselves. So Belial, as well as a lot of the other bosses in the game, are getting some meaner and more challenging things added, like increased health and damage and some new tricks. So a lot of the mechanics did get changed for a lot of the bosses, which I do think is a great thing. Excuse me. It's a really cool thing to make them a little bit stronger, a little bit tougher, and have some new mechanics. So you guys can still see here from the layer keys, the kind of like levels that you're going to go through on the boss ladder. So you got your initial bosses, you got your keys that you're going to need for the greater bosses, and then you need the layer boss keys for the Belial Surprise Ambush, the Betrayer's Husk, and then exalted layer bosses. So you have the big dog and Belial there. There's some good experience changes. We did know about this. They are slowing down the experience to make it feel more like Season 6 as opposed to Season 7. So 1 to 25 is going to feel a little bit slower, but I don't think it's going to be that bad. This is probably the biggest one. The seasonal powers now cost less spectral ash for that, as well as the magic and rare ones. So this is going to feel a little bit better to level those up, because during the PTR, it was a little tough to get spectral ash. So I'm glad that there is a reduction in that. So that's really good. We've adjusted the odds at which you can upgrade glyphs. So it is going to make it a little bit better at the lower tiers to level up your glyphs. So that way you can push higher pit tiers, which I think is a fantastic thing, because right now, besides fighting the bosses, the pit is the real end game. So being able to get glyphs so you can go challenge your character on the pit, I think is a great addition. Monster health increase per pit tier has been lessened to create a similar difference between the season 6 to season 7 to season 8. So it will be a little bit different, guys. There's a lot of bug fixes here. I'm not going to go over the bug fixes. Then there's a lot of general game updates that they did add to the game. All the changes are highlighted in blue here if you guys do want to go through this. But as far as what is very important for season 8, we just went over everything that's in here, which I think is great. So TLDR, nerfs to the boss powers, bosses got harder and have more mechanics, which is great. Experience changes, glyph changes to be able to level those up. New rewards, which I think is cool. Of course, we have all the brand new items that are in here if you guys want to go read through that. And then a lot of buffs to all of the classes across the board, which I think is great. They do discuss a lot of other things like the aberration incursions. These things in here, oops.
I'm done.
These things in here are going to be really, really nice for this. They did give some buffs to the aberration incursions, which is kind of like our Witch Tide or Vamp Tides, kind of like our, overworld event, which I think is really cool. They did do some really nice buffs there. And then a lot of bug fixes. So hopefully playing the game on launch is going to feel really, really good, which is going to be here in a few days, which is fantastic. So a lot of really good changes here in the PTR, or excuse me, in the dev stream. Bosses and PTR changes, which is great. They got new boss powers, which they talk about the changes there. Season 8 class balancing and changes. They go through all of this to talk about the nerfs and buffs that they're applying to each of them, which is great. A lot of buffs here, a lot of buffs, which I think is a great thing. A lot of classes were really unbalanced, so very happy about that. They did remove the Conduit Shrine, which is great. Ancestral Whisper caches returned from season 7, which is a great thing. The Whisper caches have been pretty lackluster for a long time, so hopefully that will just be much better. Then of course we have the Berserk collaboration. For those who are interested in the Berserk collaboration, there's going to be some really nice items that you guys can get from this, which I think is really cool. But you can see here it launches May 6th. There's a Reliquary Cosmetics event that you can get, and there's a blog that you can read over all that stuff, guys. But it's really cool to have that. And then there was a lot of questions from them and whatnot. But there's some really good changes here, guys. Again, for the most part, just a lot of nerfs to the boss powers, buffs to the bosses, buff to the characters, experience changes, so it's a little bit less from 1 to 25, but after that you should be fine. Just a lot of really good changes here, which I think is cool. So that is the patch notes in a nutshell, guys. So like the video, guys, it really does help out the channel. Comment down below, let me know what you guys think about these changes. I do think they're really nice. I think it's going to help the game out a lot going into season 8. Along with our season roadmap, which is down here, I believe. Oh, let me go back to the post. Oh, that's my post. I think I tweeted this out. We do have the road changes here, if I can find it. There it is. So we got the roadmap here. So we got the Siegin of Belial's return. I am hoping that the Sins of the Horadrim will give us the Horadric powers, which is going to give us basically the thing where we can customize our powers, the Horadric's cube. So I hope that that's in there and it's not just a copy paste, but we'll see. Same thing with season 10 with the chaos powers. So, but yeah, guys, that's what it is. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. And as always, stay gaming. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.